Hi folks, this is all the fruit. Today I'm foraging the beautiful city of Weinheim in Germany. It's a city very similar to Heidelberg, between the low hills and the lowlands. It is a rich place where a lot of people have fancy mansions and fancy gardens. That's always good for fruit foraging. It's in one of the mildest climates in Germany. Yeah, it's a wine growing area, hence the name Weinheim. Or maybe not, there are different ideas about this. And yeah, it's one of my favorite places for foraging in Germany. However, yeah, the last years we had a lot of droughts, just like right now. As you can see, the hawthorns here are not doing well. So I'm not expecting too much. We're in the middle of July, basically a good fruit foraging season, but yeah, the plants are being stressed from the drought from 6 years. Yeah, out of the last 6 years, 5 were drought years, which is not good. As you can see, the people here are trying well. Since the German Kaiser 250 years ago said that this is the area where Germany starts becoming Italy, people have been trying to make this place as Italian as possible. And look at those beautiful, quite old peach almond trees. You can forage the peach almond just like almonds. The fruit is almost as edible as a peach, but not quite. However, the seed is just as edible as an almond. So here a row of nice, not very old, but oldish trees. And underneath the first one, there is a feral hackberry. However, neither the almonds nor the hackberries are in season right now. The toxic pokeweed. This is Phytolacca esculenta, I would say. This is the Asian species. Despite being called edible, it's still toxic. Not as toxic as the American one, but still. And I guess I still haven't made the video about this. Maybe I should do it today. To show you how mild the climate in this area is, look at this huge albizia tree. It's past its prime last year. Last week it was more beautiful, but look at the size. This is a good size 2-story house, and the tree is a good deal higher. Those are quite frost tender, and a couple decades ago nobody would have thought to plant them in Germany. Actually, I think this must have been from the time before they showed up in German nurseries. The last 15 years or so you could find them in German nurseries, but this thing must be over 30 years old. So I guess it got imported from a nursery somewhere in Italy or France or somewhere else. Very good climate indicator for a really mild and beneficial climate for southern plants. Lots of tree hazelnuts here. This whole road is lined with tree hazelnuts. They will be in season soon. A lot of Germans think they are poisonous because, well, a hazelnut that grows on a tree, it looks different from the normal ones and even tastes different. So a lot of Germans will tell you they are poisonous. They are not. They are just as good as the normal ones. Just the shell is a little bit harder. Let's see what we have in this garden here. A walnut tree. It will take some time before this is in season. Then the background, the sour cherry. Over there, a grapevine. It's strange how few things are in season. Spring was cold and rainy, much colder and rainier than is normal around here. So everything is like a month or so late. Then the cold and rainy spring turned into a very hot and dry summer very fast. So not only are things very late, usually right now we should have a big diversity of plums, but it will take a couple weeks. But also the fruit seasons are very short. I remember mulberry trees which fruited for several months, and now the fruits are gone just in a couple weeks. Here a rose bush dying by the drought. Here the monk's pepper, the opposite of Viagra. You use this pepper to spice up your food, and it will do the exact opposite of spicing up your intimate life. Bananas are quite popular as ornamentals here, and despite the quite harsh winter, one of them is actually flowering. This is Musa basio, the standard banana grown as an ornamental in southwestern Germany. Not only are the fruits not considered edible, but they also never ripen in our climate because you need basically a frost-free or 2 frost-free winters for them to ripen. Next to it, the cabbage palm, sabal. The fruits of many sabal species are edible, not of all, but the cabbage inside the palm, the heart of palm, the big buds, the single buds this palm has, is very tasty. That's why it's called cabbage palm. Actually, some populations and even species of this thing have become almost extinct because people like to harvest the bud, and that of course kills the tree. The Oregon grape doesn't look very good. I think there is some mildew on the fruits. Anyway, it's better to eat them after heating. People say you eat too many of them raw, you start crapping yourself. Weinheim has a lot of beautiful parks and gardens. That started centuries ago when the princes from Heidelberg basically dumped their relatives here in Weinheim. Close enough to keep an eye on them, but not close enough for them to intrigue at court. And so they had to build them a nice palace. Here, by the way, ornamental cherries, no fruits. And here some Oregon grapes which look better. You can eat a couple without crapping yourself there. Sour, but with a nice pleasant flavor. Can make a lot out of them. Jellies, preserves, liquors. Well, so those nobles, they had a lot of nice parks and gardens. Here, by the way, the Portuguese laurel cherry, the most bitter cherry ever. Then 200 years ago, some count, was he a count or was he a knight? Anyways, he planted the oldest and biggest exotic forest in Europe. Then later here a big company planted their own private botanic garden. So basically every park and garden here has a lot to live up to, and they are really trying. So a lot of beautiful, very well maintained parks. Here a Cornell cherry, not in season yet. And here a nice big Osage orange tree, Maclura pomifera. It's not an orange, it's basically a giant orange size mulberry species. Kiwi vines growing here. They are very popular as ornamentals in Germany, but they hardly ever fruit. The fruits can be the size of a mango, and if you eat them, you know why this thing is also called chocolate vine. I've seen only one place where they fruit in Germany, and fortunately it's in my street in Heidelberg, so that I can forage them, but no fruits here, unfortunately. Here in the private botanic garden, which is open to the public and free, Marus hupiensis, the tea apple, a really tiny apple. Nobody would guess it's an apple if there wasn't a sign, and if you aren't a botanist, but the fruits are tasty enough. It's an incredibly beautiful and well-maintained botanic garden. Since it's private and belongs to a huge company, they have more money than the state-owned botanic gardens. And so they have really done miracles here. It's so beautiful and so edible. Strange no ripe figs. Yeah, some are very late this year. Here the pears are being grown in a very traditional way on the south-facing wall of a building. It's not necessary for pears here, but in many parts of Germany it's so cold that to have good pears or even apples, you grow them like this, basically like a vine up the building. Before climate change it might have made some sense to plant the figs like this, but now they would grow everywhere here in this climate. There is a true acacia growing here, and look at the size of this thing. This might be the biggest specimen in all of Germany. It freezes back from time to time, but not regularly. It was cut back last year. I think, well, Actually, this winter there was also quite a harsh winter, but this thing survives and even kind of thrives. Really amazing to see an acacia of this size in Germany. A dwarf form of the pomegranate, very good for bonsais because leaves and fruits are very small. Here you have the tiny fruits. Like everything else we saw until now, except for the Oregon grapes, it's not in season. As I said, seasons are messed up because of drought and the cold, wet spring. And also the fruit seasons are very short for most things, so good luck finding something that's in season. Beautiful old kiwi vines growing on this building. Not in season, of course, haha, but the fruits should already be visible. They're not just visible, they are also already of quite decent size. Look at them. Nice kiwi fruits. They're a little bit hairier than the ones from the supermarket, but just as edible. Don't forage everything that's here. Don't forage the toxic Erythrina or the even more toxic Oleander. Der Rasen braucht eine Ruhepause. Oh yeah. Here we have the biggest and oldest myrtle champion tree. The myrtle was planted from a myrtle wreath of a bride like 200 years ago, and for 200 years ago they've been taking good care of it, pruning it a lot so that it can fit into this greenhouse. Yeah, here the climate is still not mild enough for a myrtle to survive the German winters outdoors. So yeah, they have to cut it to size to fit in this greenhouse in winter. But it's still amazing, the size of this thing. Myrtle shrubs this big are not common even in the Mediterranean. Myrtle has nice edible fruits. However, right now it's still in flowering, so not in season like pretty much everything else. A Foraging tree, or wheel of fire, very common tree in the Canaries of Mediterranean, street tree despite the very dangerous fruits. This thing is so typical for Australia. It can give you food and water. Basically, you find this tree in the desert, you have survived already, if you can get past its defenses, because apart from giving you food and water, it can blind you and give you such a horrible itch that people have died from it. In Australia, yeah, people always mention how everything will kill you. Usually they mean the animals. Nope, the Australian plants, they are just as vicious. A Chinese hedgehog rose. Chinese like those, it's really spiny, it's really hurting me. The Chinese like those for medicinal purposes. If you scrape off the thorns, you can also eat it like a fruit. And it's also a very big and impressive shrub, but like everything else around here, it's not in season. Come on folks, I want a couple edible things. At least some figs and blackberries and cherry plums. Oh, this is some sort of Szechuan pepper. The fruits are unripe but already totally usable. However, it looks like the false Szechuan pepper. I don't like the turpentine and machine oil taste of this one. I prefer the true Szechuan pepper, much better spice. A couple Saskatoon shrubs. Beautiful, but their season is already over. Pity. Still haven't eaten anything except for those two Oregon grape berries. Could eat the wild leek, but what should I eat it with? Just wild leek raw? Nah, not good enough. They have a nice Aronia and Saskatoon collection. I'm mostly interested in the Saskatoon collection, but I'm too late for it. And here they have some North American sumac species, which were used as a spice, or are still being used as a spice, the fruits, but this one looks like it has only male flowers. Here is one with ripe fruits. Yeah, this is the spice called sumac, folks. There are species in the Mediterranean/Middle East, China and North America, which were all independently used as spices. This has a mild sourness, not as pungent as some other species. Here's some almost ripe aronia, but it will still be too tart. Also here an edible dogwood, Cornus nutali, but due to drought I don't see a single fruit. They are watering intensely here, but not enough to compensate for the drought. Linderna benzoin, that was also a popular spice in the US. Talking about the US, the most American of all fruits, pawpaw. Look at them. Look at how many of those beautiful fruits this tiny little tree has. Look at that. What about the big one? The big one is also quite well endowed. Well, not just as well. They are growing in nice big clusters. There are very few clusters on the big one. How come? I see 1, 2, 3 clusters, all on the lower branches. I have 4 really big clusters. Look at the size of this one. Must have like 10 fruits. Well, this one, same thing, but very few of those clusters. I would almost say the small one has more fruits than the big one. Weinheim is famous for its multitude of huge ancient trees. Here is sycamore. The fruits are not edible, but you can use them to make itching powder. And this thing is gigantic. Let's put my huge size 45 crock here. Come on. Stand still. And let's compare the size of this huge shoe to the tree. Beautiful. Caramel bush. Oh yeah. Some of the berries are ripe. Not only do they look like burnt sugar, they also taste like it. Sweet and bitter with a caramel flavor. Oh no. Some bird just crept on me. Where are you, mother lover? And what have you eaten? Looks like it has eaten blackberries. Couple of nice old chestnuts. This tree has been very important for food in this area since Roman times. Just like in sour Mediterranean mountains. Here the climate was just mild enough for it. They can grow to immense sizes. The thickest tree in the world is a European chestnut. And of course they produce a lot of edible nuts without too much care. Oh. Okay. Hä? Sie filmen mich nicht, ich film die Bäume. Funny. This guy complained that I'm not supposed to be filming him and I'm filming in the exact opposite direction. Well, here are some bigger banana plants. They would be much bigger if it wasn't for the cold winter and the cold spring. But at least you can enjoy the nice flowers here. Well, not with that lighting. Pity, over there is a really tasty big fruited fig shrub, but with this guy around here, no chance for foraging. A nice checker tree, an almost forgotten fruit which I like a lot, but like almost everything else, not in season. It's funny, the first like 1 or 1.5 of the dry years we had the fruit season basically all year round, because we had 2 very wet years before where the plants had accumulated a lot of strength. We're putting it into fruits and there were so many fruits that the animals couldn't eat them, so there were fruits all year round. Now, after that, starting in the second and especially in the third year of the drought, it got very bad. Yeah. Smaller amount of fruits than usual. Also a big parakeet infestation. Also very short fruiting seasons because of the drought, and also the animals eat most edible things very quickly. Let's see what we can find here. This should be, yeah, this is a close relative of the gummy berry. No, this sign is not for it. Eleagnus multiflora, not in season of course, and I don't even see a single fruit on it. German medlar, not in season of course. Behind it an edible sorbus relative, and here a sorbus relative which is well known to be edible. The service tree, not the rowan. This is the service tree. Rowan has much smaller fruits. Here some edible wild rose hips, not in season. Crategus cruscali, not a very tasty hawthorn, also not in season. And here an oak collection. Yeah, their fruits or acorns are edible, but not without processing. Flowering quince, however, what is flowering is also fruiting. Not in season, but I bet they will be already kind of sourish and edible. Not as good as the ripe ones, of course. The wisteria tunnel is really beautiful when in flower. Some of the wisterias are very old, not this one. This is of medium age. Silver dollar fruit or Chinese money. The plant is edible, but of course not now. Now it's just ornamental with those silverish fruits. Those are not leaves, those are fruits. More wisterias. Some artichoke. Those are edible, but before they develop their beautiful purple flowers. Soapwort. Not only is it a very beautiful aromatic flower, it's also the easiest way to get soap in Europe. Basically, you wash your hands while crushing the leaves. Your hands get clean and smell like peas. Not like piss, but like those little vegetables. You wash your hands with the flowers, your hands get even cleaner and smell like flowers. And the strongest saponins are in the roots, which you can use to wash your dirty clothes and stuff. And the good thing is, this thing is not as slimy as soap, so in a survival or hiking situation, you need a lot less water to wash your hands with this. They will clean the fattiest grime from your fingers, and just with using a couple sips of water, much better than any soap I know. A nice kaki tree, hanging full of fruits, not in season of course, they will grow much bigger than this. This is a variety that grows to the size of supermarket kakis. Before climate change they were not grown around here, they were basically not even available in Germany. Now, at least in our area, they do quite well. This hasn't frozen back for many years now. Something I would not forage is tobacco. Yeah. In the last years and decades, tobacco has become a popular ornamental. Maybe because you don't need to spray it and very few insects eat it. Yes, you could smoke that stuff, but smoking is bad for you, so don't. Cornel cherries are starting to ripen, however, don't get fooled. Those will lose their astringency only when fully ripe and soft. They are selling surplus flowers and plants. And since it's a botanic garden, such botanic garden sales are always very good for getting rare things and often at a bargain. However, when it's the only place you can get some stuff, the price doesn't matter, the availability does. Cork oak. The corks for wine bottles are made from the bark, and also a lot of other things. In places where cork oak grows, this was a very important material, not only for corks but also for other things, and nowadays for a ton of different tourist souvenirs. Interesting, the fuchsias have survived here in Heidelberg this winter. For the first time for many years, the fuchsias actually froze. I don't know, maybe those, I think those have frozen too. Look at that, those are all fresh green stems. Lots of flowers. The fruits are not in season. The fruits are edible, and the fruits of the Fuchsia magellanica, this is the wild one, are quite good, while the fruits of most cultivars are nothing special. But no, I just see flowers and a couple very unripe fruits. Here the edible dogwood, completely not in season yet. If you look at this place closely, they don't have a couple of really huge flowered species here, but they have so many different, mostly wild flowers, and most of them haven't even started flowering. Flowering will continue here uninterrupted until the first frost and maybe well into the mild winter. It's really a masterpiece making those. Oh, okay, now I have to be careful not to get watered. Well, it's really a masterpiece. This stuff flowers like from April all the way through November. And yeah, if you look closely, most of the things now is mid-July, haven't even started flowering. Another one of the countless dogwood species. It almost looks like European dogwood, but I think it is not. Where is the label? Where is the label of this one? I want to know the species. No, cannot find the label. Well, the European one is definitely not ripe yet, so this is something different. Also the leaves are slightly different. Interesting. Would have liked to see the flowers on this one. A lot of those liliaceae fruits are toxic, and a couple are edible if you research really well which is which. Right now I don't have the time and the patience, so I'll leave it for some other time. This is the palace where they used to dump, where the princes used to dump their relatives. But I'm more interested in the palace garden. Some barberry, probably one of the non-edible species, and not in season anyways. Nice old trees here. Here the American hackberry with tasty edible fruits. And after mild winters you get out of season crops in May and then another one in autumn, which is quite good. Here an even bigger tree, Sophora. I even forgot the English name. Must be over 200 years old. A giant cluster of stems, 3 meters in diameter, however no edible fruits. Holly, you could make some kind of poisonous tea from it, but we will not do this. And of course lots of hazelnuts, which will be in season soon. Look at that! The out of season hackberries I promised you. We're gonna eat tonight. Completely ripe and mummified on the tree. However, since they ripened out of season, oh yeah, it's like raisins with a big seed. They are not very sweet since they ripened out of season. They ripened in winter, and those were ripe like in May. Normally they ripen in autumn. Look at that. Here are the hackberry fruits which are in season, totally green. And here the out of season ones. Here the seed, by the way, which ripened in May. Totally edible. Actually, those have soft seeds. You can crush the seed. Totally edible, but not as tasty as the autumn ones. Here the impressive palace with slightly better lighting. And here the most famous tree of Weinheim. This is the biggest cedar in all of Germany. However, in North America you call cedar something different. But the original name, the original cedar tree is this here, Cedrus libani. And yeah, it is the original one because this thing is in the Bible. Solomon's temple was built from this tree, while the United States are slightly younger than Solomon's temple. But yeah, the name got transferred to some trees in North America which are now called cedar. Why am I talking so much about this tree except for it being an impressive over 2 meter thick tree? The fruits are not edible. However, the pollen is a super expensive superfood. I think I made a video about it. Yeah. The pollen is out of season. This is a male flower from last year. Here the new flowers are coming. People are collecting this and eating it themselves or selling it for incredible prices on the market. Well, not in Germany, but I've read that they do it in other countries, and I've tried to eat it in Germany. It's not bad. It's like some strange yellow powder. A lot of old European yew trees. There are much older ones in Britain and France and Italy. But for Europe, those are already quite good size. Those were probably planted before World War II. Yeah, this castle garden or castle courtyard really has a couple nice things. Here the first yew fruits coming into season. Actually, I see only this one. I don't even see green ones. Well, the aerial or the pink part is edible. Every other part of the tree, including the seed, is deadly. Gotta be very careful. Better never eat yew aerials. Or if you do, be careful, because they are not just, the seeds are not just toxic, the seeds are really deadly in small quantities. The castle courtyard was good, but the castle park is even better. Paper mulberry. The Chinese make high quality paper from the bark, and the orange mulberry fruits are edible, but I don't see any on this tree. Also children love to play in those old yew shrubs here. Nowadays it's just a normal city park, but with lots of rare and interesting plants and fruits. Weinheim has the only really tasty lotus plums I've ever eaten in Germany. All the other cities which have them have some really tart ones. Of course they are not in season, they will grow much bigger. But this is the mother tree which produces the really tasty fruits. And 20 years ago there were really lots of feral trees underneath it. I think somebody cut them all away. What a pity. They haven't left a single one. There were dozens, probably hundreds of feral lotus plums trees here. Nope, they haven't left a single one. Just a parent tree with the incredibly tasty fruits is standing. I have a lot of trees here in Weinheim which I consider my personal friends. This one is my absolute favorite. Look at this beautiful oak here. The beautiful stem. Nice conical stem. 2 meters thick at the base and tapering very quickly. Acorns are very important for survival and foraging. That's over 2 meters. This is a beautiful, beautiful giant tree. Acorns were a very important food in the Stone Age before people became sedentary. Well, let me become sedentary here. When you don't have a cornfield, acorns are basically the best food you can find throughout temperate areas. You just have to heat them and leach them and they make very good flour. And even nowadays they are very important. Even in the Middle Ages acorns were basically the most important produce the forest had. Well, probably together with timber. And even nowadays in Southern Europe, millions of people rely on those acorns. They feed pigs with them, and those pigs have incredibly expensive and apparently incredibly tasty meat. So acorns from the Stone Age, from the settlement of Europe and the Mediterranean till now, very important food in parts of Europe. Good that I foraged some tasty blueberries in a supermarket earlier, so I'm not gonna go hungry. Beautiful old specimen of Kentucky coffee. Yeah, the seeds can be roasted into a coffee substitute, but I've never tried this, and I'm not gonna start today. Fire lily flowers are tasty and edible. Delicious. A nice and very complicated taste. Poncirus trifoliata, the only citrus-like fruit that can grow around here. without protection. And it doubles as an impenetrable hedge too. Quite an unusual fig variety here, but not in season. I'm seeing one big, very elongated fruit over there. And apart from that, only small ones. Pity. I really put some hopes on this tree. Virginia creeper is hanging full of berries, but those are not good. Even when they are ripe, they have too much oxalate. Bladder nut. Not sure which species. The fruits are quite elongated. Could this be the Japanese bladder nut? Well, they all have edible seeds, but they are not quite ripe yet. Here a mulberry with a pretty late season. Most mulberry trees are already out of season, but this one is not even in season yet. Lots of unripe fruits, but here they seem to be one or two ripish ones. Not quite ripe, but already sweet and aromatic. The beehive was living for years in this hall of the medieval tower. But since I don't see any bees flying, it seems either the bees have died or people have removed it. It was still a nice thing to keep them there for a couple years. They moved in there on themselves, nobody put them there. Another bladder nut. This looks more like the European one. The fruits are much more roundish. Well, what about the nuts inside? Well, wait, they have already fallen into the bladder. This nut could already... Oh yeah, it's already good to eat. Nice and tasty. So if I wanted, I could have a decent bladder nut harvest here earlier than any other nut. Finally something that's in season, but I'm too lazy right now. This is the medicinal garden of Weinheim. Another beautiful collection of interesting plants. Oh, those hazelnuts are of decent size, despite the drought. Look at that. Even the seeds are of good size. And already totally edible. The strawberry tree is not in season. This year's harvest is gonna be very bad. 2 little fruits here. 3 more over there. That's nothing. In some years it was covered, this specimen was covered with many hundreds of fruits. Here another one. Oh, yeah. When it flowered, it was cold and rainy. And of course, neither flowers nor bees like that. Wild strawberry season is over. No, not a single fruit around here. I remember there were currants somewhere down here. Here the donkey thistle, if you can make it past the numerous spines, you can cut out the inside of the inflorescence. This is one inflorescence, this is another one which is already too old. You can collect something which is basically like a small artichoke. Just as tasty, you just have to get past a lot more spines. No currants, but at least some wild blackberries which haven't been removed in time. Yummy stuff. They profit from the watering of the garden. Such a big castle wall. There must be at least a small rock lying around somewhere here. I got myself a rock. And now I'm gonna eat tons of tasty hazelnuts. Nothing. What? Nothing? Wasn't this the very same shrub? Got the first one? Oh, this one was eaten by worms. Come on. One. And here. Another one. But most of them. Oh, look at the delicious big worm. The pity I'm a vegetarian. Here I got at least 2 species of hazelnuts. This is Corylus maxima from the Balkans and from Turkey. The red color is just because it's an ornamental variety, but you recognize it because the nut is completely hidden inside the calyx. This seems to be Corylus avellana, which funny enough is named after a Turkish city, or back then it was a Roman city, but it grows throughout Europe. However, this doesn't seem to be the wild one, it's a little bit big for it. Seems to be a cultivar. And the stuff I broke first, here I got a couple more of this. Not exactly sure what it is. It is definitely, the calyx is definitely too long for avellana, even on this one. Even this could be a hybrid. But this I'm pretty sure is a hybrid. Look, Corylus maxima, very long calyx. Corylus avellana could even be shorter than this. And this looks like some sort of hybrid. Doesn't matter, folks, they all taste the same. Only the tree hazelnut, Corylus colurna, tastes different from the other ones. Ribes aureum, the golden currant. However, between the drought, the competition with the big yew trees, not a single fruit. Fruits on the holly are not edible. But even the yews are so stressed that they cannot find any fruits, neither ripe nor unripe, on any of them. Potted plants, like at those restaurants, can be interesting. However, here it seems they are potting plants which could also grow outdoors. Liquid amber, black locust, forgot the name of this one, but I've seen it in the parks. Laurel cherry, willow, Portuguese cherry, Portuguese laurel cherry. Yeah, okay, the olives over there, yeah, they should bring them indoors. People have been trying to grow olives outdoors in Germany now for decades. They even made pseudo-commercial olive plantations, but every couple years they freeze back. Nice rosemary, if I had something to eat it with. Anything forageable in the castle courtyard? Nope, I don't think so. The old town is really beautiful, and in the old streets you can find people growing interesting stuff. I'm hoping for a nice fig tree where I can eat a lot of tasty sweet figs. Purslane, the favorite summer vegetable of the ancient Greeks and Romans, can grow even in a dry summer after singular rain events. However, here I'm afraid that most of the rain events are actually dog pee, so not gonna try it right here. Stay away from this Lonicera species. I think it's highly toxic. There are a couple edible species, but this is none of them. Street full of ornamental pears. Not even sure what ornamental pear species or variety or hybrid this is, but the fruit tastes disgusting. Here the real European sweet chestnut. Those hedgehogs will get to more than twice the size if they don't get dropped first because of the drought. But then they will be filled with tasty edible chestnuts. Like in October you can harvest them. Firethorn, one of those countless plants which in Europe are only considered an ornamental, but in North America they are a popular fruit. They taste quite good in autumn when they are ripe, but of course they are not in season. Oh wait, those fat pigeons, whatever those fat pigeons are, could be something edible. But what, the Saskatoons are out of season and I don't see anything else. Yeah, always follow the animals, the other foragers, the traces in the forest. Yeah, when you can find something, maybe somebody else can. Where is the food, fat pigeon? Not talking to me. Okay, some more ornamental apples here, but due to drought they don't even have fruits. This one does, but only because it's being watered. Well, it wouldn't survive in this pot without watering, not in this summer. They thought planting a park on the roof of the parking garage is a good idea. Well, it was usually in the standard German climate. Not now. Look at the grass. It's not just dry, it's dead. The ivy is dying and the shrubs, some of them are not looking better than the ivy either. Look at that. This is paradise. Hundreds of tasty blackberries, all growing in one tiny corner. Now in the area of the less fancy mansions, somewhere around here I remember was a really good fig tree. Was it this one? No, this looks like just the rootstock survived and the graft died. Whoa, no, I'm taking everything back. Look at the size of this baby. Not completely ripe, but half green, but already decent. One's already hanging. Not much more ripe. Not much, but a bit. Funny thing that the owner is just on the other side of the tree. Do I look like I care? Now I think I finally got a ripe fruit, but I wasn't the first one to get it. This is good. Fortunately, the others are inside the fence. But just look at the size of this baby. Just look at the size. Funny how they didn't stop me. They were just 3 meters away from me. Some unusual but huge and sweet fig variety. Still not completely ripe, but delicious. There is a loquat hiding behind this fig. I even see a couple mummified fruits on the lockwood. A lot of green ones on the fig. And here are quince and other figs and apples and raspberries and grapes. More fig trees. At least 3 and an apricot. What about this one? Oh, pity. It's not ripe yet. Even one tiny little bit. Oh, and look at that. Look at that. Ain't that a crime, folks? Apricot trees are not really common around here. And look at that. Delicious. Too lazy to climb here. There's still a couple on the tree. But why did they not harvest them in time? That's the first apricot tree I see fruiting this year in Germany, and look at them. A very early cherry plum. Most fruits are already on the ground. Just a couple left on the tree. Most cherry plum trees are not even fully ripe yet. This might be worth remembering. This year it ripened in June, so in other years it could ripen in early May. Fully ripe. Not even that sweet, but very aromatic. Here, by the way, a black walnut. Another of those many trees Germans only use as ornamentals, and in this case for timber. But in America, this is a totally popular nut tree. Monkey puzzle tree. Weinheim has a whole forest of those things, and they're 3 times the size of this one. See the cones? The light green stuff on top? They are still tiny. They'll get almost the size of human heads. And then I'll be back to Weinheim, go into the exotic forest and forage a whole backpack full of tasty monkey puzzle tree nuts. Here for comparison, what most cherry plums look like now. This one is ripish and already kind of mummified, but not really ripe. This one is half ripe. And this one just starting to ripen. So the blue ones back there were a really early one.